Mesopotamia. The Forgetful Gods. From time immemorial, man has felt himself to be confronted with evil supernatural beings, and his weapon against them has been the use of magical rites. Spirits lurk everywhere. Larvae and lemures lived beneath the earth. Vampires escaped from the dead to attack the living. Namtar, pestilence, and Idpa, fever, plagued the cities. Night was ruled by the demons of evil, of the desert, of the abyss, of the sea, of the mountains, of the swamp, of the south wind. There were the succubi and the incubi, carriers of obscene nightmares. The snare-setting Maskim, the evil Utuk, dweller of the desert. The bull demon Talal, and Alal the destroyer. People's minds were dominated by malign demons who demanded sacrifices and prayers. But the sages of ancient civilizations knew also that good spirits existed, ever ready to come to the rescue of the afflicted. In the higher magical religions, the priests conceived a supreme deity, a wise controller of the world's harmony. Amid such fears and wonders lived the river peoples of the Tigris and Euphrates, the legendary Sumerians who had settled in the lower Euphrates Valley 5,000 years before Christ. The dark-skinned Akkadians who had established themselves in the region of Babylon 3,000 years before our era. The Elamites, ancestors of the Persians who we can trace back to the 4th millennium. The star-wise Babylonians, founders of a world empire. The Assyrians, first vassals of Babylon, subsequently conquerors of Western Asia and Egypt. And again the Medes, whose glory had seemed everlasting until the Persians achieved hegemony over all Asiatic lands. In the broad plains, on terraces of temples and towers, the priests scanned the night sky, pondering over the riddle of the universe, the cause of all being, of life and death. They offered their prayers to the spirit of Hea, the earth, and to the spirit of Anna, the sky. By conjuration, by the burning of incense, by shouts and by whispers, by gesture and by song, the priests sought to attract the attention of the fickle gods who had forever to be reminded of the misfortunes of mortals. Remember, the incantations were always reiterating, remember him who makes sacrifices. May forgiveness and peace flow for him like molten brass. May this man's days be vivified by the sun. Spirit of the earth, remember. Spirit of the sky, remember. Not only were the demons to be feared, but also within man himself lived dangerous powers. If magic was a protector, it was likewise a destroyer, a formidable weapon in the hands of criminals who used it to attain evil deeds. The sorcerer believed himself to be beyond laws and religious commandments, casting spells and reciting incantations to kill at random. The imprecation acts upon man like an evil demon. The screaming voice is upon him. The maleficent voice is upon him. The malicious imprecation is the cause of his disease. The maleficent imprecation strangles this man as if he were a lamb. The god in his body made the wound. The goddess gives him anxiety. The screaming voice, like that of the hyena, has overcome him and masters him. Some sorcerers were believed to possess the evil eye, which enabled them to kill by merely glancing at their victims. Of others it was said that they created images of their enemies which they burned or punctured with pins, depending upon the amount of harm they desired to inflict. He who forges the image, he who enchants, the spiteful face, the evil eye, the mischievous mouth, the mischievous tongue, the mischievous lips, the mischievous words. Spirit of the sky, remember. Spirit of the earth, remember. There were incantations against the innumerable operations of black magic, against the ever-present demons which passed like snakes furtively into the house, preventing women from conceiving, stealing children, sometimes descending upon the land like pillaging Asiatic warriors. They fall on one land after the other. They raise the slave above his rank. They cast the free woman out of the house where she gave birth. They cast the young birds out of their nests into emptiness. They drive the oxen before them. They drive away the lamb. the evil, the cunning demons. But voices of peace are also heard amid the fear and the tumult. The hymns of worship alternate with conjurations. A broken tablet still reads in cuneiform characters, "The garlands, exalted shepherd, on the thrones and altars, the marble scepter, exalted shepherd, king, shepherd of the peoples." These peaceful songs cease when Namtar, the pernicious demon, unfolds his black wings. Then the afflicted are reminded of Mulj, lord of the abyss, and the planets, his kin. In deadly terror they call upon the gods and the spirits whom they had forgotten in their prosperity, for men are forgetful, just as the gods whom they shaped in their image. Spirit of Mulj, lord of the countries, remember. Spirit of Ningalal, lady of the countries, remember. Spirit of Nindar, mighty warrior of Mulj, remember. Spirit of Paku, sublime intelligence of Mulj, remember. Spirit of Enzuna, son of Mulj, remember. Spirit of Tishku, lady of the hosts, remember. Spirit of Udu, king of justice, remember. Such is the nature of the cuneiform inscriptions that have come to us from the royal library at Nineveh, which, in the 7th century BC, King Ashurbanipal had compiled from the ancient Akkadian texts. These had long since become unintelligible, but precisely for this reason, even greater powers were ascribed to them. It was taken for granted that, since these mysterious formulas had been recited for ages, they were still efficacious. Similar beliefs that the magic word must not be altered existed among other nations of antiquity, beliefs which, indeed, with slight modifications, survive in our day. Veneration for the original word of the Scriptures is stressed in our time by Catholics and Jews, who recite their prayers in Latin or Hebrew, in spite of the fact that these languages are dead, just as Akkadian was during the reign of Ashurbanipal. The ancient Akkadian texts clearly show these people's conception of the supernatural. For them, good and evil are caused by good or evil spirits sent forth by good and evil gods. Their world is dualistic, the stage of undecided combat between the forces of light and dark. No moral distinction is made in this perennial struggle, in the belief that it is only through fatality that these forces are either good or bad. Good may well engender evil, as illustrated by Mulj, who, although not belonging essentially to the evil principle, yet begot Namtar, the most cruel of all demons. Good and evil are not necessarily encamped in separate abodes. Beneficent powers dwell in the dark abyss of Mulj, and spiteful forces live side by side with charitable ones. In these beliefs, man would have been the prey had he not employed magical arts to protect himself against evil influences. Through magic, he established his society. It coordinated his daily life. The arts flourished, merchants attended to their business, troops maneuvered in the plain. From the temples rose the smoke of sacrifices. Hunters roamed the northern mountains, and in the king's palace the wise assembled to discuss affairs of state. These nations have left behind vestiges of their high culture. A refined taste, a sharp sense of beauty were predominant. Artisans made marvelous things from metal, stone, wood, shells, and other materials. Their works harmoniously united elegance with simplicity, ostentation with intimacy, humor with cruelty. The ancient Elamites had created their gods in animal forms. But among the Sumero-Akkadians, human gods emerge from the beast. The animal is subdued and is made to conform to human ways. On the harp of the king of Ur is engraved the mythical hero Gilgamesh, embracing two rampant, man-headed bulls. Lion and dog are depicted on their way to the sacrifice. A bear is holding a harp that fills with joy the temple courts, while a donkey is playing upon it, a jest that was also dear to the Middle Ages. On the bear's paw, a fox makes himself at home, drumming on the board and shaking his rattle under the muzzle of the carved bull's head which adorns the sounding box. A creature, half man, half scorpion, is about to dance. Standing on his hind legs, a chamois shakes the rattles. These scenes represent the wild spirit of the dance. Joyous feasts alternate with solemn sacrifices, and everything is accomplished by magical operations that free the soul from fear and stimulate man's imagination. It was for magical purposes that images were carved, poems written, music played, and public monuments erected.